Excellent. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us for our second speaker here at MongoDB.local. We are very proud and excited to feature Yemi Falokun, who is coming to us from the Google ISV Center of Excellence. Yemi is going to be walking us through RAG and grounding development today from that Google perspective. So, team, Yemi has also kindly volunteered to be able to answer your questions in real time. So if you do have a question at any point, if you raise your hand nice and high so we can see it, we'll make sure that we'll be able to get a microphone over to you. Other than that, Yemi, thank you very much for joining us, and looking forward to hearing.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Yemi Falokun. I'm part of Google Cloud, and I work as part of the ISV team, working with MongoDB on how to use our technology. Just a show of hands, how many of you in the crowd have used generative AI and have experienced hallucination? Just a show of hands. Wow, okay. So in the next 28 minutes and counting, we're going to go through some of the challenges that you're having, some of the solutions that we bring to the market to try and address them, and then we'll do a demo or two, if the demo gods cooperate, just so you can actually see the tool in action. And hopefully, you folks will be able to see that from a generative AI point of view, we are developing enterprise scale solutions that will help you address some of the challenges you have today, generative AI. So without further ado, I'm going to get started, and let's go. Oops, that did not work. Okay, all right. So this is, if folks are familiar and they went to Next, this is kind of the next new architecture that we have around our technology. So if I quickly walk through that, what we have is at the bottom, we have the model garden, which provides all the models you need, both first-party models, third-party models, and even open source models that you can use to build a generative AI solution. On top of that is the model builder, which allows you to build GenAI apps, which allows you to tune and test your prompts out and actually save them within our technology. And then the next level is the agent builder, which is something we're going to talk about today. But that primarily allows you to build multi-agent systems, RAG solutions that would allow you to do searches and basically provide the responses to your users grounded in facts, okay? And then on top of that, we have things like Gemini agents that would allow you to actually, from a development point of view, have all the information you need to get access to development code. So if, for example, if you're building a MongoDB application, wouldn't you like to see the MQL to create a table, insert a row? That's all within the solution. And then on top of that as well, we're also going to be building AI solutions that address certain industries from healthcare to finances to retail. Moving on swiftly. And I've talked about this, it's the model garden, running our infrastructure, the model builder, being able to do test prompts, tune, distill notebooks, and then the agent builder that allows you to build out of the box and custom agents. And I talked about the model garden, just gives you a little bit more, another level of detail on the models we have available. We have our first-party models available. We have third-party models available like Claude, Meta, Mistral, and we also have some open source models available like Gemini, which you folks might have seen and you can use as well to build a generative AI solution. Doing the next level down into Gemini 1.0 and 1.5, 1.0 really allows us to, that's the first generation of the Gemini models that really start addressing things like instruction following. So I think he went to the first session and he talked about RAG, but RAG doesn't really work if the data you're getting back from your search is not used by the model to provide a response. So Gemini 1.0 was one of the first models that actually started doing better job of instruction following than you can do also within, from one of the software we announced at Next is now generally available, and you can actually tune them as well. Then moving swiftly on, we also announced Gemini 1.5 in public preview, which means you can now have access to it. And that then introduced, that was the first multimodal foundation model that allows you to do text, allows you to do audio, video, and also introduced 1 million context windows as well for some of those use cases where you need to send in large amount of information as well. Again, that's on public preview, and if you log into your Google Cloud environment, you will have access to experiment with our model as well. Fine. Then some stuff on Gemini, which is an open model. It's not open source, it's open model. And you can do things like, we have 3 different versions. We have the code Gemini that we can use for code use cases. Then we have the recurrent gemma, and then you have the Hugging Face integration. So you can actually get these models on Hugging Face as well, if that's what you're familiar with from a Git or a repo point of view. And then double clicking into Model Builder, I talked a little bit about this, which is you can discover models. You can go onto our Model Builder and get access to first-party models, third-party models, and open source models. You can actually tune and optimize those models as well. So if the out-of-the-box model does not provide the response you want, i.e. you want it to provide responses based on your own data format, you can use the Model Builder to tune those models and get the responses you want. And that does a couple of things. That reduces the amount of prompts you have to send in to get a response you want. And also that also helps you with your latency and your performance as well, okay? And then within a platform, you can also monitor and deploy models within our platform. And you can do things like reinforcement learning, human feedback, so that you have that full ML ops from your data prep to the models inference, to monitoring them to make sure they're not producing model drift, i.e. they're not producing the model accuracy that's low expect. Just keep going through that cycle of training your models to make sure you have the right model performance at the right accuracy level that you're looking for. Agent Builder is the low code, no code, but also full code, because there's going to be an SDK for it that allows you to orchestrate. So you can actually build RAG solutions and orchestrate your RAG solutions, whether you want to do it yourself or you want to use an out-of-the-box pre-built agent. Whether you want to ground or augment the information that your agents are dealing with. For example, do you need information from a website? You can easily build a search on top of the website. Do you need information from a structured data? From unstructured data as well, you can build data stores within within our agent builder that allows you to grab information at runtime and use that as part of your GenAI use case. You can also take action, so you can make calls using an extension to go and book a ticket, to book a ticket for a flight, to look for hotel information. We'll do a demo or two later, and hopefully you see that in action. And then you can also deal with primitive information as well, whether it's Docker, PDFs. We can process PDFs as well as part of the platform as well. And then last there, you got rankers and more. So there's some APIs that we have that now allow you to look at the information you get back from your search and actually rank them to the level of accuracy that you're looking for based on the query that you send, that user sending in as well. So that now helps you reduce the responses to be as accurate as it can be based on the query that the users are sending in to your application. And then from a challenges point of view, why should you care? I mean, I asked at the beginning how many people have been working with generative AI and experiencing hallucination. There was a few people that raised their hands. So we think the language model is just a piece of the solution. It's an enabler in the solution, but there's more to it than that. You still have to build an application. You still have to integrate the language model within your environment. So you need a platform to help you do that, and that's what we bring. Right? And some of these workflows, the language model might help you simplify the complex workflows, because the language model can reason, can do classification, can do summarization, some of the stuff that humans have to do by looking at a piece of document. Language model can do that for you, but still, you still need to take action. So that's why the agents are coming in to help you use the language model as the enabler, but also allow you to make external calls so that you can take action based on what the language model is telling you can do, and you see a demo or two. And then the agents learn from experience. So we have a concept of something called examples, whereby we pass examples in as part of the implementation, and the agent knows that because I've been given this example to follow. For example, I might say, hello, I'm going to New York. I say on the hotels, list of hotels. I tell I want to go to a show, it tells me the show. If I save that as an example, the agent knows it can use that as an example of an interaction and actually use that as part of the user interaction when they come in and actually put in queries, depending on what they're trying to do. So that's why you should care, and that's the technology that we bring into the market to address some of these challenges that you have with building multi-agent RAG solutions. Having said that, what is a generative AI agent? And it's really an application. I talked about the LLM, just a piece of the application. So you're still building an application. And it's trying to achieve a goal by observing what the user wants to do, acting upon it, but then using tools to make the execution at runtime. So it's kind of three things: it observes, it acts, and it achieves your goals. And you'll see a demo too about that as well. And when we talk about agents, we're talking about using generative. That's just an animation of the actual UI itself. We have out-of-the-box agent. You can customize your agent because you're building your own application. You can actually create data stores to a website, unstructured data, structured data, maybe a MongoDB table, a MongoDB collection, and use that to ground your use case. But also the actual tool also allows you to test. You can continuously improve. There's GitHub repo integration as well within the tooling, so you can start doing your development life cycle within your teams as well. But so that's the agent tool. And it does three things primarily from an enterprise-ready point of view. You can orchestrate. You can use LangChain, which I think most of you in this room are familiar with. I talked about grounding and documenting your use case with your data, your enterprise data, so you can do that as well. And then more importantly, when you know what the action is, you got to take the action. So you need to make an external call, whether it's an API call, whether it's a database call, whether you're making, like I said, an API call, you still have to take an action, and that's something you can do within the application using tools, okay? And there are three main components. There is a reasoning loop, and the reasoning loop is what the LLM does for you. Because the LLM can look at your request and do some classification, understand what you're trying to do, and then make the call to the tools. Yeah. And then the tools then make the action calls and return the results back to you. Those results are then also analyzed by the reasoning engine to then produce a response back to you. So for example, if I say, give me the top 3 hotels in New York, it might go out to an API, get the top 3 hotels, but I might say, give me a list of the top 3 hotels. What's going to come back from the tool is probably a response to API. Something needs to go through that API. It might be a JSON element, maybe whatever that format is, and turn into a top 3 in the list format. That's what the language model does for you. Yeah. And obviously the third piece of that is the language, the model itself. Today within the tool, we provide all our out-of-the-box models, but as we move on, you'll be able to, I talked about tuning your models, you'll be able to also have your model as well, and actually use that as, oh, sorry. Okay, sorry about that. And also use that as part of the implementation as well. Okay, and just a quick graphic on how the agent works. So in there, I talked about a reasoning loop. It's, for example, that's just an example. It says, I want to book a flight. So the reasoning loop would say with a model, so you're telling me I want to search for a flight. And then because it knows it wants to search for a flight, there's a flight tool that's been part of the implementation. So it uses that to make the API call. So you might get back flights, say, for example, from Austin to Zurich. And then it would then use that to give you the options that you can pick. And then you then say, okay, I want to book the flight. And if the tooling has been implemented to make an API call to book a flight, then the agent is able to construct the API call, go make a flight, maybe return a confirmation number, a booking reference number, and then provide that back to the user. But it's really 3 key elements to it. There is the reasoning loop, there is the tooling, which makes the external calls, and there's the model that acts as an enabler to understand what you're trying to do from a user point of view. And then just a quick graphic on difference between models and agents. The model, and this is the reason why we say the model is just a piece of the solution. You know, the models just understands, you know, they're based on the training data that you have, but you need an agent to make the external calls for you. And then the tools are implemented in the agent architecture, but there is not really tooling within the model. Again, I go back to the model is just a piece of the solution. You need to wrap it around an application. The agent builder is giving you the framework to build the application that uses the model as the reasoning engine for the implementation. Hopefully that makes sense. A quick architecture of what an agent looks like. So you would have a custom UI. Again, go back to you build an application. You would have a custom UI that would call, that would send in some prompts. The prompts, we use the tools. We have some examples just to guide the agent on how we want it to respond to users. And ultimately, it uses the model to understand what you're trying to do. it would return the results back to the custom UI, and the custom UI, for example, can make the Google Places API call. So that's give you an idea of, if I'm saying I want a ski trip with my family, the different steps that goes through the different components of the solution to return a result back to the user. 40 minutes. Over to demo time. So we're going to try and do some live demos. Hopefully that would work. You folks can see the tooling in action. So, do we switch? Okay. It's going to be okay. So what you see there is what you see. I'm gonna have to try and do it. What you see there is the agent builder, and I've built a quick demo for MongoDB local New York. I have the agent doing. It's just a data. It's doing two things. It's talking to a MongoDB database. Is also making an API call. So I've got two tooling implemented within the solution to call MongoDB. It's actually calling 3 different collections within a MongoDB database. It's calling the Airbnb listing. It's calling the movie collections, and it's calling the restaurant collections. These are just sample data that you can load into your MongoDB application. So that's what that's doing. So I've built that out, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do maybe just talk to the agent by saying hello, for example. And then, and hopefully folks can see that. So it tells me that, again, I've built it to be able to answer questions on movie, restaurants, Airbnb listing, and point of interest. So I may just say, hey, can you give me a, can you, if I'm going to type, can you list movies with release date of 1980. Hopefully my typing is okay. I'm going to send that in, and if everything cooperates, hopefully I should get a result back. Just thinking. All right. So I can't find 19. Okay. So my let me that again. So 1980. Let's see if that works. Yep, it's not working. Okay, so let me switch to a different demo. I'm going to switch to a different demo, and this is a travel agent demo. So I'm going to do, so this is a demo that's been built, and it's got, so I'm going to do hello. So I'm going to say, trying to do this with one hand. I'm going to say, I am going to, so I'm going to send that in. I'm going to send that in. And that should go through and make an API call, maybe even come back with images of some of the hotels for me. Okay, so that comes back with hotels. So I've made an integration with an API call, go hotels. So I might say, okay, so I might type something like, don't tell my boss, but I want to see some Broadway shows. Any recommendations? So it should go through. Again, I'm switching from hotels to again, it's giving me, some Broadway shows in the city. So, okay, some of those look good. So I want to find out tickets. So let me ask a question about tickets. So it might go through and have a look. Again, this is making API calls, but the language model, the language model is looking at what I'm sending it and making understanding that I want ticket prices, selecting the tickets API making a call with a ticket API with the fact that I want to know Broadway theater, and then returning results on the range of tickets. So for example, $200 a little bit too much, so let me see if there's any discount available. I can ask the question. It's a bit of a typo there, but hopefully that fixes it. Oh, there's a bit of a typo, but it still picked it up because there's context. There's context in there. So there are currently no discounts available. Okay, so maybe I'll say, okay, New York's been great. I want to go home. So let me say New York. Can spell New York has been great, but I want to go home. So let's see what it tells me. It knows I want to go home. Context, but it's going to ask me, find a flight right home if you like. So where is home? Home is, I'll say San Francisco. Okay, so it tells me San Francisco, JetBlue. So again, this is, it understands the context of what I'm trying to do. I've implemented it such that it has access to APIs to go make calls to get me results. And the information that it's getting back is then processed by the language model to provide a response that I want based on the question I'm trying to ask. So that's that. If I flip back to the demo that we're trying to do, just to kind of give you an idea of what's going on behind the scenes. So I talked about the agent building having 3 components. It's got the reasoning loop, it's got the tooling, and it's got the model. So as you can see, if I close these, let me just swim with that, is you can see that I have a list of models that I can choose from. The defaults to Gemini 1.0 Pro. I have some agents that I've built. So I've got some agents that I've built. This star there tells me that is the orchestrator. That's the thing that orchestrates between all the different agents. Basically, in natural language, I've actually described what I want the agent to do. So I've told it it's an agent that provides information on movies, and I want it to assist me to route users to these, I think, 4 different specialists. I've got some instructions there to call this agent. So agent to movies, restaurant, Airbnb, and Pro. Then what I can also do is to give it examples. I talked about examples, so I can give it examples about movies. I can tell it examples of what I want it to do, and it will give me this again. And then the agent knows to use the examples when it's trying to direct users based on what their queries are. And what you can also do is within this, so that's that code. So the angel will call the tools, and the tooling is defined as just so for example, I'm doing MongoDB. We're at a MongoDB conference, right? So this is that does a CRUD on the MongoDB database. All I've done is just provide a YAML or JSON in OpenAPI spec. And because you have data API within MongoDB, all I've really done is just added the API in there as a key, and I can connect to my MongoDB database. And that can construct for me my filter queries that then gets information from the database, for example. What I can also do with the tooling is, I'm testing from the, so if I come out, okay, I'm testing from the top, from the orchestrator, but what you can also do is just go and test from, say for example, you can pick up just an agent on his own and just say you want to test that agent. So let me try this and see if this works. Can you list 3 movies with release date of 19? Let me try that query again. I think I typed that, okay. So that's now making a call, hopefully to the MongoDB database, and it should come back with some information. There you go. So it's come back with 3 movies. I mean, I'm sure if you check you can check the collections database, and that's what's in it. And really, just to show you, it's creating a MongoDB query that's got the filter I've asked for, 1980. It's got the limit that I'm looking for, 3. And obviously the collection, the database data source, which is what you need to make a call to a MongoDB database. And the results are there in the output. And that's what the language model is taking to create that list for me, because I've said create me a list. So that's what the language model does for you as part of the implementation. Okay. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what's going on within the tooling. This tool is available as a public preview. If you log into your Google Cloud environment, you can start using it, start using it to build agents. There will be an agent SDK coming out. We have Google I/O coming up in about a week or so. So around that time, we will probably announce our agent SDK that you as a developer can use to do the same thing that I've just done in the UI. And also you can see how you can build agents and you can actually load agents. So for example, there's this concept for pre-built agents where you can load pre-built agents that you've built into the tooling so your end customers or some of your development folks can actually use those agents as well. So those are some of the things we're doing around the tooling. Okay, can we flip it back to the slides, please? Okay, so moving swiftly on. Yeah, so this is a representation of the demo that we've just seen. We're asking questions about point of interest, restaurants, Airbnb, taking you through an example of the reasoning loop and some of the stuff you've seen. In the case of the demo itself as a pizza restaurant, as Airbnb listings, movies, and then there's a Places API call. So I can actually make a call to say, give me some information on Madison Square Garden, and give me the address because it's making the Places API call using the Google Places API. So that's some of the implementation I've got in there. Just showing an example of using tools to make a call to a database, a MongoDB database, and also showing an example of making a call to an API. And you saw how easy it was to configure the API in the tooling piece of the solution there. So just kind of wrapping up, if there's things that we want to take, is 4 things, right? One is innovating with us because we provide a full stack. I've showed you a tool in there that allows you as a developer to start building agents using your own enterprise data sources. We provide the models, because we do our own research, we provide the models, we provide the platform for you folks to discover those models. We not only provide our own first-party models, but we also provide models for third-party and open source models. So if you are familiar with, I want to use a Mistral, I want to use a Claude, I want to use a Llama, you can go onto our platform and deploy those models within our infrastructure and start using the inference endpoint, right? I talked about the language model just being a piece of the solution. You need a platform. And what we provide is also a platform, Vertex AI platform, that allows you to deploy the models, to discover the models, to deploy the models, to tune the models if that's what you're looking for, and also maintain that, create that LLM ops experience for your developers so that you can manage and monitor your models as you are using them within your enterprises. I showed you a tool that anyone can get going with. You don't have to be an AI scientist. You don't have to be a data scientist to use that tool. But we are also going to be releasing an SDK as well that allows developers to actually build code, whether it's Java, Python, Node, whatever your favorite language is. You can use the SDK to build the same thing that you saw with the UI. But a low-code developer or a citizen developer can actually start using the tool that you saw up there, right? And then it's about enterprises accelerating your time to production, giving you things like security, making sure the data that you use to tune this LLM model stays within your environment, giving you the IP protection around the language model, giving you the IP around the training of the datasets that we use, giving you the security framework to build the application at the enterprise level within the Google Cloud Platform. So if there's one thing you take away from here, it's LLM is just, or the foundation model is just a piece of the solution. It's an enabler for the solution. You still need to build an application around it. And what we provide from a Google Cloud point of view is the platform, working with partners like MongoDB, so that where we know you have your data to build RAG applications in production. Okay? Hopefully that helps. That's all I got for you. Thank you very much.
Yemi, thank you very much for taking